So you have your DIY NAS set up and you have all the hardware in place and installed. But the next question is software. What software are you going to run on your DIY NAS? Well, today I'm going to show Truenas Scale. So let's get to it. Hello everyone, Xiao here, and today I'm going to be showcasing Truenas Scale, which is a NAS operating system for your DIY NAS. Now, some pre-built NASs do allow support for other OSs, but usually you won't install this on anything except a DIY NAS. So to get started, we need to go to the Truenas website, which is simply truenas.com. From here, we can go to software, and we'll find Truenas Scale. Now, there is also Truenas Core. Truenas Core is on FreeBSD, while Truenas Scale is based on Linux. I believe Debian, but I might be wrong. So I use Truenas Scale because it allows for more versatile use. So we're going to go ahead and download. And here we'll have to do this. I've already signed up, so I'm not going to worry about it. And the latest release is 24.04.1.1, which I'm pretty sure just means it was released in 2024, in the month of April. So to begin, we're just going to go to download stable. We're going to go let this download, and we'll be back when it's done. So now that we have the OS downloaded, we need to flash the OS installer to a flash drive. So to do that, we need to have a flash drive of the appropriate size. And in this case for Truenas Scale, the OS image is about 1.5 gigabytes. I just use a 16 gigabyte drive for everything, but it shouldn't matter too much. I think an 8 gigabyte drive should be enough. And we need a flashing program such as Balena Etcher. You can also use Rufus, but I use this program here. So for this, we need to flash the file. So we're going to press flash from file. I'm going to find where I downloaded it, and here it is. Next, I'm going to select a target, and it's this iXpand flash drive. We're going to select, and we're going to flash. We're going to go ahead and press yes, and it's going to start the process. We're just going to say no to this. You might get some pop-ups like this. It's just because of the flash drive being formatted a specific way. Don't worry about it too much. So now that we have the flash drive flashed with the OS installer, we're going to go ahead and install the OS to our device. Now in this case, I will be installing it to a laptop so I can display capture. However, the rest of the video where I'm showing the Truenas UI, that will be done on an actual NAS system with actual hard drives installed. But for the installation process, I will just be showing it on this laptop so I can screen capture. So to get started, you have to actually turn on the laptop and go to the boot menu. Now in this case, the hard drive is going to be wiped no matter what. So whatever hard drive or SSD you have installed in your device, it will be wiped. Now most likely, you already know this, and you're installing it to a fresh drive anyway for your NAS. But this is just an informational. Now, when you do this, you need to go to the boot menu of your device, or sometimes your device will automatically pick up that the flash drive is the only bootable media. In this case, my laptop does that, and so as you will see, it will turn on and it will immediately show that UI for installation. As you see, here we are. This is the installation. This is the grub menu. We're just going to simply press start Truenas installation. And here we are. So here we're going to go ahead and just press install or upgrade. We're going to say that it has less than 8 gigabytes of RAM. In this case, I'm just going to continue, but preferably you have 16 gigabytes of RAM in your system. In this case, I'm going to be installing it to this Kingston SSD. So I'm going to go ahead and press spacebar to select, and I'm going to go and press OK. Here is, again, once it will erase all partitions and data on this drive. It also says please do not install via USB drives, because that's a really bad idea sometimes, and as well make sure it's usually an SSD. So we're going to go ahead and proceed with this installation. I'm going to make I'm going to configure everything through the WebUI. So in this case, I'm going to go to WebUI. However, you can make administrative user or root user right now, but we're just going to configure through the WebUI later on. In this case, it wants to create a 16 GB swap partition. I usually just say yes to this, and it's going to now actually flash the OS. So this might take a second, and yeah, it's going to take a second, but I'll get back to you when it is finished. Okay, now that we have the installation complete, Truenas says reboot and remove the installation media. So I'm going to go and press OK. And I'm going to actually shut down the system. It's going to do a few things, and then I'm going to actually unplug the USB drive. So now I'm going to go ahead and actually turn the device back on. And it should now, because how everything works, it should boot from that SSD that has Truenas installed, and here we are. So we're going to go ahead and just click this first option. However, you see in the bottom corner, it will actually automatically select this option in a few seconds. So I'm just going to let that select it itself, and we should get a few bit of this. Now, because this laptop is very underpowered, once again, I'm installing and showcasing the installation process on this laptop. Because it's underpowered, you might get a few errors. However, on a device that's meant for this, it should be fine. Okay, now that the system has been booted up, you will notice that it says the web interface cannot be accessed. That is because the device I'm currently using, or the laptop, is actually not plugged in via Ethernet or Wi-Fi. However, I do suggest only using Ethernet with Truenas Scale, as you will have a much better experience. Now, accessing these devices use LAN, or local area network, so you will not be able to access your files or the WebUI outside of your house network, which is usually a good thing for security reasons. Now, in this case, once again, this laptop's not connected to my LAN, so I can't actually access it, but I will up in that top corner where it says the web interface cannot be accessed, it will give you the IP address where that web interface can be accessed. Once you have that IP address, you can plug it into your web browser, which I will be showing in a second with the actual NAS system. Anyway, that's it. Let's move on. If this video is helping you out, definitely like, comment, subscribe, and definitely give me any constructive criticism if you think I'm doing something a little bit wrong. Anyway, let's get to it. Alrighty, now that we have the actual NAS plugged into the LAN and powered on, we are going to go to the IP address that's listed on the screen, or you can find the IP address looking through your router, and a bunch of other things, DHCP and everything else. It all depends, but in this case, mine is 192.168.4.134. Now, this is a local area network IP address. This is not something you can hack into or whatever. You have to be connected to the same network as the actual computer. So in this case, as you saw, I did select make password when actual setup. So in this case, we're going to set up a Truenas authentication method, which is an admin user. Now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and set up this password, and we'll be right back. Okay, now that we have logged in, simple as just pressing login after getting your password set up, we can see the dashboard. Now in this dashboard, probably the only things that you really want to look at to begin with is you can look at the RAM, which in this case I have 128 gigabytes of RAM. And you can see your network. This again is the LAN IP address right here. You can see the type. So in this case, I have 1 gigabit connection, though I plan to upgrade that myself later. But in this case, it's just 1 gigabit. Just leaving it at that. You can also see the CPU. We can see how many cores, and we can see how many threads, which in this case are 16 threads. Now, for the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to set up a pool. So to go there, we're going to go to storage, and we're going to create a pool. Now, in this case, we're just going to say yes to here, and we're going to name the pool. Now, in this case, this pool that I'm making is from 2 1TB hard drives, and I'm just going to label it, for now, I'm just going to label it the apps pool. So that should be fine, and then we're going to go layout. In this case, I'm going to pick a mirror, and I'm going to pick this. So we can go manual disk selection, and here you can see the 2 disks. Now, this, I don't really know what this is. I believe this is actually an internal drive that is part of my server that I bought. But we're looking at just hard drives, and here we have two 1 terabyte drives right here, just connected, and we're going to use these. So we're going to save selection here. So once again, in this case, I have 2 drives. Now, it is recommended to have at least 2 drives for this situation, so we can at least mirror. This allows for redundancy. If you only have 1 drive, you would have to pick Stripe, but that is not a good idea. You want some redundancy, so if you have 2 drives, use a mirror. If you have 3 drives, use RAID Z1. There's a bunch of different configurations. I'll definitely make a video eventually on different configurations, but for now, if you really need to know the configurations, do some Googling, and I'll have a link in the description to a video that helped me first learn these different types. But in this case, once again, I'm just going to pick mirror. I'm going to go ahead and pick my hard drive size, and I'm going to go to the next step. Now, log this, I can't really do anything for right now. I don't have any extra drive, so we're just going to go next. We're going to go next. Caching next, next, next. Now here we're going to review all the things about it, and we're going to say, okay, that sounds good. We're going to create the pool. We're going to confirm and create. Now as this is completed, you will see a few informations here, such as smart tests, which can be important to see if a drive is about to fail or not. There's some ZFS information, and then also just other topologies. Don't worry about this unassigned disk. That's the thing that I was talking about, where I think it's an internal SD card or something that's detecting, but we're not going to worry about that. So here we did lose a little bit, but we have about 900 gigabytes, I believe that's what they're called. So going from storage tab, we're going to go to datasets, and in this case we're going to add a dataset, name it whatever we want. In this case, just shall. I'm going to pick generic, and I'm going to save. Now I'm also going to create an apps dataset, which I know I did technically name the entire pool apps, but that's just how I named it. We're going to make an apps dataset for our apps. Now with this, we now need to actually have permissions. So in this case, we're going to go to credentials, we're going to go to local users, and we're going to create a user. Here I'm just going to put shall, and I'm going to put a password. And I'm going to give it a UID. This should just be the standard UID. Auxiliary groups, don't worry about that. It's going to create a new primary group, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and pick this as our home directory. We're going to leave that unchecked, and we're just going to go and press save. We'll confirm, and we'll continue. So now I have the ability to have a login. Now going here, as you can see, I set this folder as my home directory, which, as you can see by permissions, I own this folder and I can do whatever I want to it. So to show that, I'm going to open up my file explorer and go from there. Sorry, I did forget one thing. Of course I did. We actually need to enable the SMB share. So we're going to go to the shares tab, and we're going to add a Windows SMB share. In this case, I'm just going to pick my share right here, and default share parameters, sure. Description, none, save. I'm going to configure this. I'm just going to go say yes. I'm going to start it. So the ACL is simply just permissions, and you don't have to worry about too much about this, especially if it's a shared folder like a NAS would be. It's just set. So now if we go here, we can go here to the Truenas tab, and here you'll see my shared folder. I'm going to click into it, and now normally it should give you an option for logging in, but I already have the password saved to my computer, so it automatically logged me in. So here we can actually transfer some files. So I'm going to go ahead and find something I want to transfer. In this case, I will transfer in this ISO of Windows 11. Now here you can see it transfers at about 100 megabytes per second. Now that is because my link speed to this NAS is only 1 gigabit, or about 120 megabytes per second, and so I'm limited speed-wise, and that's why I'm only hitting 100 megabytes. Now I could get this faster with a faster NIC, but in this case, just 1 gigabit is perfectly fine. So I'm going to let this finish transferring, and we'll get back to the video. Now for apps, there's multiple ways to do that. So if you go to the app section, we can see here, we're going to go to choose pool, and we're going to pool the apps pool, which is why I named it. Again, I probably should have named it that, but that's okay. So now it's going to configure Kubernetes, which is like the, I don't really know how to properly explain this because I'm still very new to this type of stuff. But Kubernetes is kind of like the overall container type thing, and inside each thing, I think it has what's called pods, and that's what actually runs the apps and programs. So I'm going to go let this finish, and we'll come back. Okay, so now that we're back, we can actually press Discover Apps. In this case, there's a bunch of apps. We can pick any of these apps, but what I like to do before I install an app is I like to go to a dataset, and inside this apps, I would like to create a dataset, and call this dataset whatever the app is called. So let's say you're installing Plex. I will simply call it Plex, or I'll create this app folder. And inside this, I have the Plex. Now this allows me to now actually direct the app to this folder when we actually set up the apps. Now setting apps, I will actually show another time. This is just a simple, hey, this is kind of how I do it. But there are many ways to do it. But that's about it for this. That's the basic installation of Truenas. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely like and subscribe and comment. It really helps out. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.